Hey there, it's Derek here from Pacific Coast Auto in Japan, and this is a 1997 Toyota Crown Royal Saloon. This one here is the, I guess the classic model, because during 1997 there was a more modern version of it than this, but this is the classic one. If you have been to Japan, this is what a lot of the taxis looked like, because they used the same model as this. It comes with a 2JZ engine. That's right, a Supra's engine in this otherwise sedan. And these things are fantastic. I adore these. They are a great use of space, tons of room inside, tons of room in the trunk, great engine, rear-wheel drive, I think 210-ish horsepower, maybe up to 230. And then this one here is gross. I'm sorry to say it so bluntly, but whoever took care of this car previously wasn't taking care of it. The condition is pretty terrible. And there is some option to, when you buy a car that turns out to be worse than you expected, you can try to sell it back at auction. But the condition is so bad that you probably are going to end up losing some money doing that. A lot of people watch the auction history, and if they see a car ever come back to auction, then they're going to be less willing to bid a lot on it. The big problems are, there are about 22 cigarette burns in it. It's absolutely filthy. There are a lot of worn sections on it. It needs a full repaint. Mechanically, it's pretty much all there except for a bad screen. This one here doesn't work, which is a touch screen to control the AC. And as a result, it's fairly useful, obviously. And then mechanically, it's not perfect. The alternator's a little weak. It's putting out 14.1 volts, and then the engine shakes a little bit. It also has oil leak on the valve cover that's pretty large. That was mentioned on the auction sheet, so we knew about that coming in. But that would probably need to be fixed before the car can be shipped. And this banjo bolt here is also leaking, or at least something above the banjo bolt. You'd have to take off this front cover to see. Okay, that was a lot of information right at the top. So let's just remind everyone, this is a post-purchase inspection video. The vehicles are bought from auction, and then we shoot them if the customer wants to. And then we send them off to your country. In this case, this one's going over to Baltimore. Or New York, actually. Baltimore is the first check, but there was a bit of a bridge accident there. So coolant and oil, surprisingly, both of those look okay. The oil level is fine, which is nice to see, considering we know that it is leaking. The hood struts are bad, hence we have Mother Nature's hood strut here. Oh, and you got to see the interior of this. This has some of the coolest features. You guys know about the Toyota Century. This is like a mini Century. This one has the massaging seats in the back. It has the foot through on the passenger seat. It has a bunch of other things, like I think power seats in the back so you can recline them. It's incredibly cool, but it's gross. So let's go over the auction inspection sheet. Oh, and look, fender mirrors, just like a Century. I mean, you could option the Century with or without them, as you could with this one. The fender mirrors are very, very JDM thing. Obviously, some like older cars. Let me see. We got 11 in here with fender mirrors. Cars from the 60s and 70s are pretty common to have these fender mirrors. But some people, I guess like kind of older people, love the fender mirrors so much that you can get them up until late 80s, early 90s on a lot of cars. I don't think there are many cars after this one that you could spec it out on, but definitely this Toyota Century, because you know, it's meant to be a classic, old money kind of car. So let's go over the auction inspection sheet here. This is a 1997 Crown Royal Saloon G. 3000 cc, that's the 2JZ engine, as I mentioned. Auction grade 3.5 with an exterior grade D and an interior grade C. Pretty low grades here, but I would say that the interior really qualifies as a D if you count all those cigarette burns. So 190, 331 kilometers is rather high. It is known to be a reliable engine. The only thing that I really see with these engines is oil leaks, fairly commonly. So this one is no different. No sales points, no notes, so we'll go right into the report here. And the resolution of this is really horrific this time for some reason, and so bear with me. So windshield rock chip, interior dirty, stained, scratched, and something I can't read, I'm sorry. I believe we got a proper translation of this prior to me retranslating it here for you, so do keep that in mind. Okay, so rear bumper reinforcement and end panel dented. This is because somebody hit the back bumper here. The bumper itself seems to be pretty okay, looking all right. And then the back panel is this one right up in here. Now, when that gets hit, you're going to want to look for alignment issues, but we're looking good on this side, good next to the trunk, good next to the trunk here, and good on this side. Personally, I wouldn't worry about that. And yes, these are power curtains and a subwoofer. All original equipment. Incredible. Like the Royal Saloon G, I've never seen one with this amount of options. I can't wait to show you the stuff on the inside. Okay, so it says oil leak, aftermarket wheels, door mirrors on the fenders, left rear door visor is missing. Actually, both of them are. I don't know why they said just the left one, but yeah, the visor here is missing. Of course, you could just leave them off. It's not a huge deal. Carpet stained and cigarette burn. The problem with Japanese is there's no plural in the language. So cigarette burn is the same as cigarette burn or cigarette burns. So it doesn't really differentiate. And then the steering wheel is largely worn. And then it says paint cracks in the front bumper and A2. Paint stains in several areas on the hood, several areas on the roof, and several areas in the trunk. Because of this, it needs to be repainted. Paint peeling on the back door and an AU3 here on the side sill. A3 on the back bumper. That all seems pretty reasonable. I feel like they should have mentioned maybe a little bit more about the scratches around the door handles. All the door handles have gotten the fingernail treatment. So if you look right above it, somebody's thumbnail. Someone was a thumbnailer. And I've seen this on so many cars that I've made it a point to, every time I open a car, be very careful that no fingernails ever touch any part of it. Some of them, like this, they're made of a material that's going to be scratch resistant, but some of them have paint underneath here. Like, these ones are painted, and those ones are painted. And pretty much all cars. This one's the exception, but still the owner found a way to scratch like crazy around the door handles. Not only this one in the back, which usually isn't scratched as much because people don't go into the back as often, but that's the passenger door. Again, usually the driver's door is the one that's going to be the worst. In this case, the passenger door is pretty bad, but you come over here and you have even worse on the driver's door. It's almost like it's intentional. And the running theme of this car is that somebody just didn't care about things. It's like, unfortunate. It's like somebody who didn't care about their life, and their car reflects that. Quite sad. Okay, I think that's everything here. Oh, wheels scratched, door mirrors scratched, very small scratches, small dents, and repair marks. And yeah, one of the fenders here has been repainted, the one that's peeling paint. So it was a low quality repaint on that fender, or on that door, pardon me. So, I feel like I'm complaining a lot. The thing is, it has a lot of bad things. The car is still cool. And specifically, or not specifically, but maybe like more reasonably said, the car would be incredibly cool outside of Japan. Here in Japan, this is now old enough and classic enough that it could be considered cool to the right person, but you show people things like that pass-through seat and the massaging seats in the back, and they're going to be like, what? They had that in the early 90s? It has heated seats in the front. Heated seats were not really a thing in the early 90s. Jungle Time. Jungle Time's finished. Well, actually a little bit of Jungle Time over here and over here. We are in talks to get a new place, but more on that later. It's slow going. Okay, there's the car. I have to pan because it's Jungle Time. JDM, Jungle Time, of course. So yes, there are options if you don't like the car to send it back to auction. You can set the reserve price and whatnot, but in my experience, 80% of the time you sell it for less, and then you still have to pay our fees for purchasing this in the first place and selling the car. So it ends up to be a losing scenario pretty much every time. Depends on how much you want to lose, though. You could import this and potentially spend a lot of money to get a great car. But if that's worth it for you, it really highly depends. So a little bit of peeling there. And just like the auction sheet said, that there are some paint cracks in this area. It's just flex cracks from the paint flexing when the bumper was hit. The grille appears to be fairly good with only a little bit of fade in it. And then the crown logo, very cool look in my opinion. Headlights are made out of glass, so those can't fade, but the marker lights can. And they have a little bit of like deterioration in the lens there. They also have a fog light integrated into the lens, and I don't think that North American cars are even allowed to do that. So it's a headlight and a yellow fog light on the side. Okay, hood stains. Now it's not a clean hood, so some of this can be washed off, but it looks like this car was probably parked underneath a tree. And we knew that this was a big problem on the car because the auction sheet says several paint stains, and they're basically everywhere, especially in this area here. Like something lands on the car and it's not washed off, and therefore it damages the paint. Has cool little marker lights here. Those light up when you have the headlights on and make the car look very cool driving down the street. And boy, do these look good if you lower them and put them on some big wheels. By the way, this is the same chassis as the GS. The Crown and the GS run on the same chassis. This is the 155, and the first generation GS, I think, is a 150 series. So I believe that the parts should cross over. You're going to want to double check that before that. Also, this is never a great sign. 4 air fresheners inside the car. That's only 4 of 8 that I found. Okay, so coming down here, there's a lot of like swirly marks. You can probably cut a lot of that off, but you might find it's better just to get the whole car painted so every panel is consistent. A little damage there, a little bit of chipping there. And then down here, here's the AU3 in this section. Okay. Scratches around here. And I will say, like, we paid a fairly low price for this to begin with. And so there is some savings there. If you got one of these that is in immaculate condition, you would pay thousands of dollars more. Rear bumper, all right. Paint stains all over this. Here's a good example of what a paint stain looks like. Like a concentrated paint stain. Okay, and the roof is very much the same. Okay, it's going to be a little bit of a longer video than your normal one, because we got a few things to talk about here. This side is actually better than the other side in terms of general scratches on it. It does have the peeling paint. So here it is. And like I said, this door is not painted very well. So if you take a look at it next to the other door, your reflection is hazy and kind of inconsistent. Okay. Missing a piece of this bumper area, and then I already mentioned about the scratches there. We have some paint staining down here too, and a little bit of like a deterioration of the side bumper section. Fender's looking all right. This is a substance on it. Fender mirrors have a little bit of fade, and this one here has like not a scratch, it's like something fell against it and dented it right here in front of my finger. And then here you can see the gray paint is faded to white. How are the wipers? They're not too bad. But the trim at the top of the windshield has started to deteriorate as well. It's supposed to be a chrome trim and is faded to regular plastic there. Okay, so let's do the interior here. We'll start with the trunk. And the trunk pop is down here, by the way. And I love how big the trunk is. Like I said, these are used as taxis here in Japan. So the trunk is huge. You could probably fit me, Mike, Grant, Max, and Isaiah in here and close the trunk. Well, probably not. You'd have to close it with a lot of force in order to get us all in there, but you get the point. It also comes with a CD changer back here, and underneath has no rust or anything. Toyota actually does a pretty good job of making sure that you have a good amount of paint under here. And then that's the original wheel. By the way, 2022 tires on the front, 2018 tires on the rear, and the rear ones are bald. Okay, into the back seat. Probably the best part about this car. I'll go ahead and close this. Okay, so everyone gets their own ashtray, which is nice for driving around for people who smoke. And look at that. Everyone got to do that. There's still smokes in there. I'm not sure why, but they got like a piece of like tint that has been attached here on this side and on the other side over there, but it's peeled off, leaving just the glue marks. Okay, we also have some cigarette burns in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of the 22 burns. I think that's all that's back here. Okay, so these seats, very nice and comfortable. They feel great to sit in, like no other car of the era. You flip this down, and let's have a look at the goodies. We've got power seats. Look at me go. Now, it doesn't tilt back a lot, but well, that's actually not too bad. And the whole point of tilting this seat back like this, you get to a more reclined, relaxing way to sit, but you also get to kick through the pass-through here. There's buttons here to move the seat forward. And the idea is you get driven around in this car. Sticky switch there. Flip this down, and you get to stretch out. It's weird, but it's extremely cool. And it's stuff like this that's really going to draw a lot of attention to a car like this. You can also do the tilt function here, and this headrest does something weird. What is it? I just noticed this. The regular headrest looks like this. This one's like a 2-part headrest. Push to open. Why would you ever want that? I guess if you're really short and sitting in the front seat? That's wild. Why does that even happen? It's so weird to think that Toyota's like, let's engineer a headrest that can work for someone who's 12 years old. But after 2 years, you're going to stop using it. But let's create that for 12 to 14-year-olds. Wild. Okay, so you can move the seat. Seat heater in the back and in the front. Seat vibration. I don't think you can do it when the car's off. I didn't check to see if it works. It would be a shame if it doesn't work. I don't actually know, though. Gosh, look how dirty that is. Open this up, and we have cup holders and a cigarette lighter adapter connector. Okay, open this guy up, and now you have radio controls, volume controls, and rear air conditioning is its own zone with high and low and auto functions. You can set your own temperature. Cool. Oh, and a 1 yen coin down there. It's probably extremely dirty. Let's move this seat back. And let's see if the passenger gets smokes too. Of course they do. Man, it's probably some young dude that used to drive around smoking with his buddies. Okay, front section. So door card is a little bit damaged. You've got some general dirtiness around here, cigarette burn here, and in there, and then a few little areas here where it's deformed over time. Okay. Seats again, you get some pretty comfortable seats. And there are plenty of cigarette burns in them. Okay. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the fabric is loose here. And then it's really dirty there. Shifting is fine. Power steering is fine. Throttle is fine. Engine is a bit shaky. Brakes feel fine. You have somebody's Eneos card. You can give them some points. Air fresheners. 1, 2, 3, 4. And swing vents. These vents will swing side to side to make sure the whole car is air conditioned. Weird, but cool. Okay, ripped seat. Not seat, steering wheel. Just like the auction sheet says, it's highly worn. Gauge set, nothing much to write home about. Has some weird little box connected here. Not sure exactly what that is. If you do know, let me know in the comments. And there's some secondary weird thing in here. Looks like it's a charger for a phone or something. It says Docomo, which is a phone company. So there is that. Here, your heated seats. Check this out. I love it. Open this up, and you've got someone using the coin holder for an ashtray. Idiot. But then seat heaters here. One. And a rear power seat controller. That's weird. So I guess this passenger doesn't get a seat heater? The rear two do, and there's only one button here. But then you close this, look. There's a little window that you can see the light that lights up when your seat heaters are on. Absolutely cool. Place for a cup. Only one, though. And then the screen that's broken. And then some stuff glued onto the top of the dashboard. And a wide-angle mirror that can plug into something if you want. Not sure what. This is fairly worn, as well as being saggy fabric. And the A-pillar trim is missing. Okay, so it's a car that you've got your work cut out for you, if you wanted to restore it. There might be people interested in buying this once it's imported if you just clean it up and do like the bare minimum. It's hard to say. I would say that the auction inspection sheet doesn't super accurately show all of the damage. I'd like to know more about the amount of cigarette burns in it, and maybe a few more marks on here. Like, for example, it says on the roof, paint stains several. Doesn't mention this big scratch that's here. That sort of thing is a little bit missing. But all in all, it is a unique and it's a rare car. Like I said, I've seen a bunch of these Crowns. I haven't seen too many with all of those cool functions inside. So, that's all for this one. If you have any questions, please let me know. Thanks so much for watching, and have a nice day.